Welcome to John's Thinking. Today we're going to make almond snowballs. This is the recipe. Almond kisses, 2 sticks of butter, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of vanilla, 1 3/4 cup of flour, 1 1/4 cup of fine chopped almond slivers, 1/2 tablespoon of almond extract, powdered sugar. You preheat the oven to 375. Remove wrappers from kisses. Beat butter, sugar, vanilla until finely flour. Add flour and almond extract. Okay. And here's how you do the rest of it. Just for you all to know. We've already heated the oven to 375. Hello, Tina.
Hello. So these are the almond slivers that I buy. I buy them at Aldi's because they're cheap. This is a 6-ounce bag. It's 1.5 cups. It says it right there on the bag. The recipe calls for 1.25 cups finely chopped. I used my little mini food processor and chop them up. This is what they kind of look like after you've chopped them up. This is how much is left after I measured out 1.25 cups. So I end up just using the whole bag because who doesn't like nuts in their cookies? So if you're not a nut lover, you can only just go by the recipe and just use 1.25 cups. But if you, otherwise you're gonna have 1/4 cup of these left over if you don't just use the whole bag. So, the other thing is your butter. It calls for 2 sticks of butter. I use the salted butter. Make sure it is at room temperature because you have to beat your butter, sugar, and vanilla together until it's fluffy. And you have to have it at room temperature in order to make sure that it beats good. Okay, so what
we do at room temperature is basically when she wanted to make these today, she took that butter out.
I just set it on the counter.
And let it sit there all day.
So I'm planning on making 2 batches of these cookies. So I got a whole box of butter out and set it out on the counter, and I put them out and just separated them on the counter like that, and just let them sit there to get room temperature. So, so I've already got the oven heating. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the butter, sugar, and vanilla in my mixer over here, and I'm going to start beating it together to get it fluffy. The sugar is 1/2 cup. I've pre-measured 1/2 cup of sugar into this bowl, and then I just use pure vanilla, and it calls for a teaspoon of pure vanilla. So teaspoon, there's a teaspoon of vanilla. So I will stick this in there and we will start mixing this up. Actually,
so we're gonna put the butter, sugar, and vanilla in there?
Yes. And I am going to actually cut this butter up a little bit because it will mix better if you cut it up.
Okay, we'll be back.
Okay, that's what it looks like when it's fluffy.
So that's what it should look like.
Yep.
That consistency.
Yep. Okay. Mixer here. Okay. Next it says to add the flour and the almonds and the almond extract. Let's see, flour is 1 3/4 cup flour. Sorry, one of the things.
I can cut the edit.
Okay. Where's my 1/4 cup? There it is. One of the things with adding flour to these KitchenAid mixers is if you have it on too high, it will puff up into your face. So you must be careful whenever you're adding flour. and add it a little at a time. As you see, I have a butter knife. The butter knife, whenever you're putting flour or any kind of dry ingredient into your mixing cups, will help you level it off. So I use the back side of the butter knife to level off my cup. So it calls for 1 3/4 of a cup. So there's my 1 cup, and then it calls for 3/4. So this is a 1/4 cup, so you're gonna need 3 of these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start my mixer back up, and I'm gonna add 3 of these first, and then I will add my 1 cup slowly. So, hang on, let me get my spatula out of here. Get all that gooey butter off of there. Start that back up. There's 1.
Always be careful around moving equipment.
2. I did see a video on the internet the other day of somebody adding dry ingredients to their KitchenAid mixer, and they used like a piping bag for a funnel and funneled it down through the mixer with a piping bag. And I was like, oh, that is a really good idea, because there's not a lot of room around this to put dry ingredients in there. And I was like, oh, that's like a really good idea. All right, this is what is making your dough and making a ball. Okay, and then this is our nuts we're gonna add in there. And I'm adding these because I'm gonna use those up. And my almond extract. Okay, the almond extract calls for 1/2 teaspoon. Now, it calls for 1/2 teaspoon. We like ours extra almondy, so I always put a little bit of extra almond extract into it. I usually put about 1 teaspoon instead of 1/2 teaspoon. Now, this is going to start getting a little crazy here. I'm going to scrape the sides a little bit. All right, that looks good. All right.
That came out good.
Yep. Put most of that off of there. Should come off pretty easy. Take your paddle off. Scrape all that good cookie dough off of there.
Some people spray that with Pam. Is that a good idea?
Well, I guess you can, but there's so much butter in there. The butter's, it's not sticking really. Not with these cookies anyway.
Maybe other cookies.
All right. Move some stuff here out of the way. All right. This dough is pretty much ready. Let me get a cookie sheet out.
Take all jewelry off for this next step here.
And make sure your hands are washed. Okay, this is what the dough looks like after you've got it really good and mixed. Now, it says to use about a tablespoon of dough for each cookie. I use my small ice cream scoop. I bought this at Walmart. I think they actually call it a cookie scoop. But anyway, they have this size, and then they have a large one. It's about this big. I have both sizes. I use the big one to make my meatballs with, but I use this one to make cookies with. So I get about that much of it and put it in my hand. And then you take an almond kiss and you shove it up inside there and roll it into a ball. And cover the almond completely and put it on your cookie sheet.
Then we just duplicate that.
And then you do that, and you don't have to actually leave a lot of room between each one. You could leave about an inch and a half, 2 inches between each cookie, because they won't spread out a lot.
So why don't you just leave an inch?
They'll spread out a little bit, but not a lot.
Okay.
These won't.
All right. So we'll be back when you get them all made.
And then once I get them all done, we'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like when we get them all on the cookie sheet.
Okay.
All right, that made 32 cookies. That's what they look like when they're ready to be cooked. I'm gonna put them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes or until they start to set up. They'll kind of get a little crispy around the bottom of them. They're not gonna actually brown. They won't get brown. So I'm gonna put them in there and we'll be back in about 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, this is what the cookies look like after you've taken them out of the oven. They have flattened just a little bit, and you have to let them sit here and cool just a little bit, but they're toasty on the bottom. Ouch, that's hot. But I'm gonna let them sit here and cool for a minute before we go on to the next step. These are my cooling racks, my wire racks. I have put some aluminum foil on them because these cookies, we are going to be rolling them in powdered sugar. And I don't want the powdered sugar to get all over my counter, so I covered them in aluminum foil. So I am going to move these over here so they're off of this pan, so that they will cool a little bit quicker. I do recommend, if you don't have one, this is a little cookie spatula. They are really handy to have.
Is it called a cookie spatula?
Yep. And I'm not endorsing this at all, but this cookie sheet that I'm using is a air bake cookie sheet, and I absolutely love using it because the cookies don't stick to it at all. But anyway, that's my personal little thing there. All right, these have been cooling a little bit, so I can pick them up. They're still warm to the touch, but at least I can pick them up. I put some powdered sugar in a Ziploc bag. Just dump some in there. I don't know how much. Let's see, the recipe doesn't say how much. It just says some powdered sugar. So I just dumped some in here. What you don't use, you're going to throw away anyway. So you can put just a little in there. And then what I do is I put a couple of cookies in there. and then grab a hold of it and just kind of shake them up. And you want the cookie to still be a little warm so that the powdered sugar sticks to them. And then that's what they will look like.
And that's what the finished product.
And that's what the finished product looks like.
Well, we hope you enjoy this.
And hang on, let me cut into one so you kind of take a look at. Yeah. So that's the middle of one.
We give these out as Christmas gifts to people, like our dentist, our doctor, our different people we like that do services for us. This is how we treat them. Instead of buying them gift cards or stuff we're not sure what they like, we just give them this. And
neighbors, co-workers.
Yeah, they all like treats. Who doesn't? And it's a good way to do it. And we just get little containers from Walmart. We do these, and we do a different type of cookie, and we put these together and make a whole bunch, and that's what we do on a weekend. And we hand them all out. We hope you enjoy this. Hope you turn into another episode what John is thinking about, and hope you have a wonderful day, and
see you next time.